So what if I were to tell you that this agenda-driven DEI push that we're seeing in the video game industry isn't just from consulting firms and from agenda-driven activists that are worming their way into this industry? What if it's being baked into the very programming of these games itself? Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back, and this is a very weird one today. We've covered a lot of this stuff about the video game industry and the agenda push by the DEI activists, and of course all of the usual bad actors like GamerX, Sweet Baby Inc., Black Girl Gamers, you name it. All the consulting firms whose job is to come in, find a problem, and tell you why your game is racist and how you need to fix it. Well, unfortunately, this isn't just from the outside consulting firms. We've seen this a lot from the inside as well. Activision recently put this internal memo out there to a lot of people and has been discovered that they've just installed these DEI officers on every development team to ensure the message is propagated. And this is an article from that Park Place discussing it, saying how essentially they have just baked this DEI messaging into everything that they do, that they put people all over the company to reinforce it. And there's actually a tweet that we'll go over from Grums. Grums is the one who is the former World of Warcraft developer, Mark Kern, who's always causing a bit of a stir on Twitter with his hot takes and whatnot. But of course, we've seen a lot of this stuff, and if, we'll just go straight to the tweet itself. He said, Activision DEI leaked, plus your bonus and review depend on how hard you DEI. DEI officers are installed on every dev team to ensure, quote, the message. Of all the AAA studios out there, my dev friends and contacts who have come forth tell me that Ubisoft and Activision are the very worst. And Ubisoft, of course, connected to Sweet Baby Inc. and a lot of the crap that's gone on there over many years. It's very, very obvious that Ubisoft is a captured company at this point, where they are just going to put this message into everything they do. And this is, I believe, a big reason for this push, where they have this Yasuke character, who is the Black Samurai in the new Assassin's Creed. So this memo here says some of the progress we've made over the past 12 months. And again, this is an internal memo that was shared around within Activision. It says, we have created a mentorship program, XP Equity, for all Activision employees to partake in, an opportunity for connection and growth, and increased participation of mentor signups for Cohort 1 to Cohort 2. Curated several meaningful DEI-focused learning opportunities on our new Leap DE&I page in partnership with our L&D teams. Another one here says, created the IGD Council, comprised of external experts to act as an additional layer of expertise to share input on our content review process in partnership with our IGD team. Kicked off our TA/DEI roadshow, and of course DEI being diversity, equity, and inclusion. Roadshow with some of our studio leads to deep dive into opportunities to expand our talent reach in collaboration with our talent acquisition team. Worked with a number of minority-owned business enterprises to create experiences for our employees during celebrations and partnerships with our internal events teams. It just goes on and on. Essentially, it's just them catering to a small demographic, trying to virtue signal as hard as they can to ensure that when their games tank and, you know, their revenues decrease, which is always what happens, especially a lot of times with these massive $200 million games, their budgets are massively inflated. They don't make any money. And then, of course, they rely on Vanguard and BlackRock and all these other hedge funds to bail them out. I mean, we've seen this this agenda push, though, going all the way back a couple months ago when I wrote this article for Fandom Pulse talking about the Xbox doubling down on the DEI agenda following the Sweet Baby Inc. backlash. And this was, of course, right after everything kind of kicked off with Gamergate 2 and Sweet Baby Inc. getting called out for their involvement in a lot of the DEI push in video games. And the Xbox head of Gaming for Everyone and Sustainability, Katie Jo Wright, came out and said, basically, I understand that this is a big issue for a lot of people, but we really need to push this because the idea of globalization and accessibility is something that we really need to, to push. And her big thing was that they had this toolkit, that Xbox had developed this idea that developers could take this toolkit and learn how to be more inclusive when making a game. So this is something that's been going on for several years now, and just recently they've decided to try and push it and say this is a good thing and here's why. Now, we're even seeing things as recently as a couple days ago, another article from that Park Place talking about how Marvel's Wolverine, a game that was leaked, I believe, 6 months ago, and looked horrible, as I do recall, the associate narrative director, Mary Kenny, says every lever must be pulled to push the disordered LGBTQ agenda. And this is from John F. Trent over at that Park Place. Basically, it's another person on the inside saying that we need to push this as hard as we can. and just to make this normal, and basically, if you don't like it, tough, deal with it. So, unfortunately, where we are today now is a new article from Bound Into Comics saying that Unreal Engine has coding standards requiring that video game studios use inclusive language in programming and documentation. Now, this is like a whole nother step down the rabbit hole, because it was one thing when they said, hey, give us more diverse characters, give us more diverse stories. This is literally requiring them to make diverse language part of the programming and documentation process. So this article says, in proving that identity politics has quite literally seeped into the very DNA of video games, Epic Games has taken to encouraging developers who use their popular Unreal Engine to employ inclusive language in their respective titles' programming codes. I'm not kidding. They're talking about making coding less bigoted, okay? It says, first added to the engine's official coding standards with the April 2022 release, it was recently brought to light courtesy of its April 2024 update. This new inclusive word choice clause sees Epic Games encourage, which is a curious word choice given that they consider the following of said standards to be mandatory, users to use respectful, inclusive, and professional language when writing or documenting a given piece of code. Now it says word choice applies when you name classes, functions, data structures, types, variables, files, and folders, and plugins, explains Epic Games. It applies when you write snippets of user-facing for text for the UI, error messages, and notifications. It also applies when writing about code, such as in comments and changeless descriptions. Now, this doesn't necessarily sound like much, but believe me, it gets better, okay? It goes on to say, do not use metaphors or similes that reinforce stereotypes. Examples include contrast, black and white, or blacklist and whitelist. Do not use words that refer to historical trauma or lived experience of discrimination. Examples include slave, master, and nuke. Okay, so you remember when you used to set up things and you have like a slave drive or a master? All these terms that you use, can't use those terms anymore. Not when programming games for Epic Games. Turning to gender-related language, Epic Games advises devs to refer to hypothetical people as they, them, and their, even in the singular, and anything that is not a person as it and its. For example, a module, plugin, function, client server, or any other software or hardware component. Further, users are asked to not assign a gender to anything that doesn't have one, nor use collective nouns like guys that assume gender, and also take care to avoid colloquial phrases that contain arbitrary genders like a poor man's ex. Regarding slang, the standards call on devs to remember that your words are being read by a global audience. And this is the thing that we've seen a lot, this whole idea of the global audience, and we can't offend somebody in another culture or another country with our, backwards views. Says that they may not share the same idioms and attitudes and who might not understand the same cultural references, and thus aim to avoid slang and colloquialisms, even if you think they are funny or harmless. These may be hard to understand for people whose first language is not English and might not translate well. And says, continuing the standards next, ask Unreal Engine users to be conscious of their use of overloaded words, as many terms that we use for their technical meanings also have other meanings outside of technology. Examples include abort, execute, or native. When you use words like these, always be precise and examine the context in which they appear. Finally, the inclusive word choice clause closes out with a list of some terminology that Epic Games believes should be replaced with better alternatives. Here's the icing on the cake. Said terminology includes the term blacklist. Alternatives listed include deny list, block list, exclude list, avoid list, unapproved list, forbidden list, and permission list. Now, whitelist should be allow list, include list, trust list, safe list, prefer list, approved list, permission list. Master, which we talked about a second ago, use primary instead, or source, controller template, reference, main, leader, original, or base. And slave, use secondary, replica, agent, follower, worker, cluster node, locked, linked, and synchronized. How freaking woke and politically correct can you get? I have to ask. This has gotten to the point of insanity. So terminology, which has never been a problem or offended anybody, let's be honest, in real life, it has never bothered anybody before. They're asking people who are doing actual coding and developing and programming for these games to change the way that their vernacular, the way that they express themselves and speak in a way that's easy to understand, and they can work quickly and speak in a language that other coders understand. Now they're being asked to change all of that because they might offend somebody. This is absolutely unreal. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about all this. I think that we have reached the absolute point of insanity. Also, big announcement, I finally have a website up and running. Now, it is a little different. I thought minimaleffort.com would be available. It currently is not. So we are www.minimaleffort.shop. And on here, you will find a list of items that I have for sale, as well as whatever news I have up for up-to-date, announcements and all that. And I will also be uploading most of my backlog of videos, as well as every video that gets uploaded the same day to my website. So you can even just go to the website and check and see what I've uploaded in case you're not getting notified on YouTube. All right, that's it, guys. I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for being here. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I will catch you later. All right, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for being here. I do have 2 channels, Minimal Effort Podcast, as well as my gaming channel. I do have a Twitch and Kick for my gaming channel. We do live streams over there occasionally, maybe once a week. And then if you are in the market for a new PC, make sure to check out Meta PCs. Click the link I have down below. Use code TBO at checkout for a special discount. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time.